Count down the moon and give that to
Good morning, friends. I am in the Lowe's parking lot. We have some errands to run this morning. I just got myself a little iced coffee. I've got my buddy here with me, but we are going to do a little front porch refresh. So I'm heading into Lowe's. I planted everything back in March and I cannot believe it has all survived. There was even a snow that everything survived, and just kind of freshen up the planters. And then the other main thing is my ferns. I bought them from Lowe's and just hung them back in March, and they are so choked out that I think I need to repot them. So I'd like to get some of those hanging pots that are kind of the basket style. So we'll see if I can even find those this late in the season. And then the other thing is we're gonna head home and I'm gonna make a new sign with my Cricut. I'm really excited about that. So just some fun stuff today. So if you need a little front door, front porch inspiration, make sure you keep watching, and I'm gonna head into Lowe's.
I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day.
Okay, so we're home now. Everything's unloaded from the car. My game plan is to pressure wash. I also would like to take some of the 4th of July decor down and just kind of refresh the space, have it be nice and neutral and clean for the rest of summer so that we can enjoy it. But before we do all of that, it's gonna be so fun. I'm actually going to make a sign on my Cricut, and I would like to thank Cricut for sponsoring today's video. So before we get started, I have my laptop open to the design doc, which we'll get to in a minute. Today I'm using my Cricut Maker, using this tool and the weeding tool mostly. And then I'm using white permanent vinyl. I have some transfer tape here, and this wooden sign I purchased at Hobby Lobby, and it's what I'm going to use today. I have my mat and then some extra tools over there. So that's everything you should need. I've noticed in our little village that lots of homes have their last name displayed around the front porch somewhere or over the front door. So I wanted to sort of put a modern spin on this and do this on our porch today. I'm starting with this wood sign that I purchased from Hobby Lobby. However, you could just use a sign you have lying around that you're not using, or maybe you want to give a little makeover by just covering it with chalk paint. I'm using Krylon chalk paint in the color Misty Gray, which is a really pretty bluish gray color. Now I briefly want to show you what our stencil is going to look like on the Cricut Design Space app. This is really easy to use. I just wrote out the Fritz's, established 2013. I played around with the fonts. I welded it all together, and now I'm loading it so that it's displayed on the mat and I can see how the cut is going to look. Then I'm taking my vinyl and I'm cutting it. I love this handy vinyl cutter. It is so great for measuring, and I'm just going to get this on the mat, and you can see here, doesn't have to be perfect. I am not a pro at this, but it's still really easy and it's all good. You just got to get it on there and just kind of smooth it out. As long as you have Wi-Fi, you can use your Cricut. It is hooked up via Bluetooth, so no cords, which is really nice other than the power extension. I loaded that mat, clicking the blinking arrows, and then hit the large C, which stands for cut, or maybe Cricut, I'm not really sure, but then it does its magic. It takes maybe a minute or two to cut out your stencil, then you will unload that mat and you'll be good to go. I am using the 24-inch mat today, which makes making larger stencils or vinyl pieces really, really easy. Cricut is a simple, easy to use tool that allows you to create labels for easy room by room organization, renovation, and simple decor like I'm making today. The smart materials allow you to create personal touches simply and easily to your home. I'll be sure to link all of the materials I used today down in the description, but now I'm going to pull off my vinyl, and this is the part of the tutorial that gets a little bit unorthodox. This is not your typical stencil tutorial. I'm gonna be pulling off all of the vinyl except for the letters, just like you would if you were just creating a vinyl piece. So all that excess vinyl, get it off. I like to take my time, go really slow with the weeding tool, kind of cut the excess off as I go. The reason I prefer to trace over the letters versus create an actual stencil is that I know it's 100% bleed proof, and I just find that it ends up being more accurate in the end. So just kind of bear with me, and I'm excited to show you how I do this. Now you can take your transfer tape and you want to cut a size larger than the vinyl itself and slowly go right over it. You can see, again, I'm not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. Just get it on there and smooth it all out. Try to get as many air bubbles out as you can. You want to press down on every piece of vinyl, assuring that it's attaching to that tape. And now you can play around with where you want it on your sign. I moved it around a bit, centered it, and got it right where I wanted it. Once you're sure you have it where you want it and you have gotten all those air bubbles out, go ahead and pull that tape off. All of the vinyl should be attached to it, and lay it down on your sign. And once again, smooth it all out, ensuring that all the vinyl is sticking to your sign. So if you want to keep things even easier, you could pull back the transfer tape at this point and have this just be your sign, which is a super cute vinyl sign, but I like things to look that much more handmade. So I'm going to be stenciling all of these letters, or I should say tracing all of these letters with a Sharpie. Now that sounds a little bit scary, but just go slow and go over every single letter and you'll be left with a beautiful outline. So this next part is rather tedious, but it is worth it. Trust me, it'll make your life so much easier when you paint. I'm going to fill in my outline with the Sharpie. Now, this wasn't easy because the Sharpie didn't love going over that chalk paint, but it does not have to be perfect. All you're doing is sort of shading it in to create some dimension and depth when you go in with that paint. You're also making it easier because when you do paint, like I will here in a second, the paint job does not have to be perfect. You can sort of just go right over the letters and you've already got them filled in. So it just makes it easier. I am a lot better with a Sharpie than I am a paintbrush. I'm using chalk paint once again in the color black. And again, I'm just lightly going over every single letter and it creates this beautiful hand painted look. When that chalk paint dries, it gives a really nice finish, and I love this sign and I love how it's turning out. The key here is just be patient with yourself. It does not have to be perfect. That's the beauty of a hand painted look. I messed up more than once, but the end result you could not even really tell. You just have to go slow and steady and just enjoy the process. And here's a final look at the sign. I cannot wait to get this outside on the front porch. Now we've got that sign finished, so I'm gonna start pulling things off the porch, starting with my ferns. Now these are the plastic pots they came in, and like I mentioned before, they're just getting really choked out, and I just feel like they aren't thriving. So it's time to repot. The beauty of these hanging baskets I bought at Lowe's is that I can use them again next year, and so on and so forth. I am being sure to drill a hole in the bottom, that way they can drain. Ferns like a lot of drainage. It's kind of a tricky balance. They like a lot of moisture, but they also like a good drainage. So I definitely recommend drilling a hole in any pot that they're in. Maybe even putting in some rocks will really help them out. There's nothing like a hot summer day to get outside and get some yard work done, or in this case, some front porch work. Thankfully, I found some shade near the garage where I repotted all of these, and I didn't make too much of a mess on the porch itself. My sweet husband cleaned up all this dirt when I was done, which is really nice of him. But I am so glad that I did this. It was totally worth it. The ferns are already doing better, and they look so nice in these hanging baskets. When you're repotting any kind of plant or flower, don't be afraid to rip up the root system. I always take a couple inches off, and don't be scared by this. This actually helps the plant to reestablish in the new pot a lot faster and helps it to grow healthier. So, fun little plant tip for you guys today.
Created my own reality, and as the days pass, the story began. Pushed and pulled until they ran. Give me a reason, give me a chance.
So between making my Cricut sign and then repotting all of these ferns, I was pretty wiped, so I called it quits for the day. And now you'll see me in the next clip. It is the next morning, and we're gonna get back to it, starting with emptying the porch so that I can pressure wash and clean. I joke with my husband all the time that having this porch is quite literally a dream come true. Ever since I was a little girl, I think I must have gotten the idea from the show Seventh Heaven. Let me know in the comments below if you ever watched that show, but they had a beautiful front porch with a porch swing, and I loved that show when I was a kid. But just in general, I always dreamed of having a front porch with a swing to swing on, or the kids can swing on. I can come out here and drink my morning coffee or read a book. I love watching sunsets out here. It has just been a dream come true to have this space, and I joke with my husband all the time. I'm like, is this real life? Is this really our front porch? I just love it so much. So we could not do a single thing to this porch, and I would always love it. It is just a dream to have, like I mentioned before. However, we do have lots of plans for the exterior of this house. It's probably not going to happen this year, maybe next year, fingers crossed. You can see we did add the ceiling fan, which has been a huge blessing. It's so nice to have the airflow, and then it also just adds a lot of character to this space. But we painted the doors back in March, which made a huge difference, but I would love to eventually maybe replace the doors. We would love to replace the shutters, and the ceiling of the porch has kind of a vinyl over it, but underneath is some beautiful beadboard. Now it's in really poor condition, but we would love to have that beadboard restored. It would just give some beautiful wood contrast. Eventually we would love to whitewash the house. So many fun plans, all in the future, not anytime soon, but a girl can dream, right?
Like a body of water, seeping through the edges of my soul.
It's so funny, I thought the porch looked pretty clean, but then as soon as I started pressure washing, lo and behold, lots and lots of black water came up. It always feels so good to get the porch or the side of the house pressure washed and nice and clean. There's just something so satisfying about pressure washing. I'm not sure what it is, but I always have a lot of fun doing it. If today happens to be the first time that you're stopping by my channel, or maybe it's just been a while, I just wanted to say that I'm so glad that you're here today. I hope that you're finding lots of motivation and encouragement and inspiration to get something done in your own home. And if you do like what you see today, do me a favor and hit that little red subscribe button down below, because I would love to see more of you, and I'd love for you to join our YouTube family. Whenever I'm struggling, or I feel like I'm in a rut, or maybe I'm dealing with some anxiety, or whatever the case may be, maybe I'm just having an off day, I find that taking 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour max to just get outside, whether I'm getting work done or I'm just sitting in the grass with my kids. I find that it makes the rest of my day that much more productive. There's something about getting fresh air, grounding yourself, and just enjoying the nice weather that just sets the tone and sets the mood for the day. So I was really thankful that on this day I was able to get this pressure washing done. I had been kind of procrastinating on it for some time, and to get it done felt really good, and it was a beautiful, gorgeous day. So I encourage you, if you have some work that you've been putting off, maybe outside, in the yard, in the garden, take some time for yourself and just spend a little bit of time outdoors this week.
I don't wanna stay here, no. Ain't gonna keep it low now. If you wanna go, let's go. Let's wrap it up and hit the road. I just got an awesome vibe, striking the winner post now. Liberty's on my mind. We've taken off, we've left the ground. You gotta understand that we get one chance, one chance. You will never regret the things that we'll do. 'Cause I wanna drive through the summer night. And when we are old and gray, we'll look back at this summer night.
I'm so sweaty and hot, but let's keep going. I wanted to add some color to the porch, so I added these million bells, I think is their common name. They look like a small petunia, but I went with red, and these are gorgeous. Now, I did decide to keep my American flags in them just through the summer because I do find that these months are just fun to be a little bit more patriotic. I'm putting back the mat on the back door and going back to adding our green wreaths. I don't know what these wreaths are called, but I'll link them down below. I got them on Overstock, and I'm just hanging them with some burlap ribbon. Both the rug and the welcome mat came from Magnolia Home. I love the sort of calligraphy writing on the welcome sign. I think it's really simple and elegant. And then I'm adding these planter stands. I added these later on in the spring, and they weren't in my spring porch video. And I added these just to give my ferns a little bit more height. I've noticed that these ferns by the door are thriving because they aren't getting as much sun. Ferns tend to like indirect light. These wicker chairs came from Lowe's. I got them in a set early on in the season, and I'm just adding a little indoor-outdoor throw and some pillows from Target. I just love how this sitting area has turned out. I do have this side table from the Studio McGee line at Target with some flowers, and I finally get to hang my new front porch sign. I love the personal touch. I think that it's adorable. Pretty much everyone that comes over asks what smells so good on the front porch, and it's this alyssum. It has gotten so big and it just smells so good. This rug is new. It is from Hobby Lobby. I got it 50% off, and that's the final touch of the porch. I'm gonna water everything really quick, but then I want you guys to sit back, relax, and enjoy this final look at the porch. I hope that you enjoyed today's video and that it encouraged and inspired you to get outside and freshen up a space in your home.